What's up everyone, my name is AMKOV, and today we're taking a quick look at the AMK-5000S. Now this might not look like the AMK-5000S, and that's because there's no brand marking on it whatsoever that it's the 5000S model. It's actually not even until we get into the package that we find the word 5000 on it, and even then, there's no S. The only way you can identify that it's an S is based on some of the settings, such as having Wi-Fi or its 20 megapixel image sensor, and we're going to get all into that. But first let's start with what's in the box. Multi-language manual, flat adhesive mount, curved adhesive mount, USB micro charging cable, vented helmet mount, J-mount, tripod mount, 3-arm pivot mount, frame case mount, waterproof housing, and the AMK-5000S itself. So the AMK can do up to 1080p 30 frames a second or 720p 60 frames a second. Now you will notice a huge dip in quality as you switch from 1080p to 720p, and again when you go from 720p 30 frames a second to 60 frames a second. So the AMK-5000S comes in two different colors. We have the silver edition right here, and what we're going to do right now is we're going to power this on, and this is going to show you basically that there's no speaker coming out of this. We'll never have any notification that we've taken a photo or started recording outside of the indicator lights. Now we will get audio notifications if we hook it up to the smartphone app, but that's the only way we're going to know we're sort of recording something outside of the lights. Now the red light on the front is pretty easy to see all around, but these little green lights that are sort of around the camera, those are our only way of sort of knowing that it's recording, and they're really hard to see. So most of the time I was really relying on this front LED to record, and that meant putting my face in front of the camera for a few seconds in front of my shot, which is kind of a hassle. Now again, we don't have any sort of indicator. If we actually hook up Wi-Fi, it's through this light, and this light will turn blue, but there's no actual indicator on the camera itself to tell us that Wi-Fi is turned on. So we'll press this button here on the side to turn on Wi-Fi, but there's nothing else. There's nothing else to let us know. So I'm going to press it right now. And Wi-Fi is turned on the camera, but there's no way we can know that without searching through our Wi-Fi phone, through a smartphone to look for a Wi-Fi signal of the AMK. Now the default password is 12345678890, and once you connect to it, it's actually a little easier to use this camera. But however, there's no way to know the Wi-Fi is on, so most of the time you're going to be trying to get your smartphone to see if the Wi-Fi is turned on, go back to your camera. That's a huge hassle if you have this camera set up in a spot where you can't keep reaching up and taking it off and stuff. So to switch through modes is pretty easy. You just keep tapping this button here. It's going to cycle through these motions on the top, but there's kind of a double tap option, and I get this happening quite a bit where it just completely locks up. In fact, we got this unit a while ago and I completely couldn't get it to work on a vacation. I had to wait till I got home, did a firmware update. When we have these lockups, generally what I'm having to do is rip out this battery. Now you'll notice that I don't have a backdoor cover. This camera originally did shoot with a backup cover, but I was opening and closing it so much that at some point I didn't latch it in properly there, fell out, and I completely lost it. And that's actually the only area where this camera will say AMK-5000, but it doesn't have the S. There's no real indication that you're filming with the S unless you know what you're looking for. No barcode, nothing on the box. Yeah, overall, I mean, like, we have these, like, microphone holes here on the bottom, but the microphone stuff is kind of completely useless because the video format is not recording at 30 frames a second. It's recording at 30.30 frames a second. Now, that might not seem like a huge deal if you're just recording footage where audio doesn't matter, but we actually recorded an audio test for the intro of this video, and if you just listen here, after 2 minutes, you can see how off-sync the audio is compared to the video. California, we got this beautiful backdrop here, and we're actually using the sound of my voice right now as an initial audio test. Now, as I move through the frame, if anything sort of wonky happens, we want to pay attention to that. If we're sort of contrasting up or down, if I'm getting sort of crunched all the way down, or the background's getting way overexposed, these are things we want to look at. Now, there are some kind of smart shortcuts. We can actually double tap to kind of get to our photos real quick if we want to switch from photo to video mode. But for the most part, you're going to want to probably use the phone app if you are using this camera, if you can connect it to Wi-Fi. Now the photo quality is shooting at a 20 megapixel image sensor. You can push that down to 14 or 8 megapixels if you wanted to. However, even though it says 20 megapixel, it's more of a buzzword. Like, you're thinking there's maybe a sort of quality level there. There's really not. And like the video footage, the photo footage can be very smudgy and very just poor. And if you think like just getting upset at a $60 camera for having poor image quality is bad, it's really not recording anything I ever want to look at again. Take a look at this shot. This is what we shot on the AMK-5000S. Now here's what I saw with my iPhone. On the side, you're not going to have any sort of covering door either, so if you're using something like the frame case and you wanted to cover that up just to keep it a little more secure, you're pretty much out of luck. You don't get a micro SD card with it either, which isn't too crazy. It's nothing I ever expected, but it's just something to point out. We do have a micro USB for charging and transferring data. It is, I think, 1.0 or 2.0, so your transfers are going to be kind of slow. I would recommend getting a micro SD card reader and just reading off of that because it'll be way faster. And here we have an HDMI out if you ever want to just hook it up to your TV. Updating it via firmware isn't anything tough. It will take a little while and these lights will flash back and forth. I suggest setting up the firmware and leaving the room for a while and come back and it'll eventually be done, because the first time I did it I thought again the camera had completely locked up, but it turns out it just takes quite a bit of while, like over 10 minutes sometimes, 8 or 10 minutes, so you might as well leave the room. In terms of video quality, again, we shot mostly at 1080p 30 frames a second because that did give us the best results. We did test out filming at 720p 30 frames a second and 60 frames a second, but if you look at things like these trees here, like the anti-aliasing and the edges are just poor. There's really not a whole lot of detail there, and everything that we do have in frame is soft, out of focus, and muddy. You can use this link in the bottom of your screen to check out just a raw video of all of the video clips we filmed. We actually filmed over the course of 2 days. We had this awesome storm rolling through Canyon Country, but for the most part, it's all smudgy on this camera. Like I said, this was supposed to be a huge upgrade over the last AMK that I reviewed, and honestly, I'm just not seeing it. Like, the lens looks nice, the body looks nice, it really feels like it can take a beating. That's pretty much all I can say about it. Video quality-wise, most of the footage you get isn't quite usable. You can make out the images you have, but compared to what else is out there, I would pass on this one. Anyway, that's going to wrap up our quick look of the AMK-5000S. Now, if you want to see some of the raw footage we shot full screen, check out that link in the upper left, and if you're feeling generous, please like and share this video. It helps me out tremendously, and if you're feeling super generous, head on over to our Patreon page. Patreon is where you can support YouTube creators such as myself, because a lot of what we do on Mark Home Cam is run completely out of pocket. Now, for this review, the AMK-5000S was provided as a review unit. I hope you guys don't think I was anywhere near biased with this review. I feel I was pretty forward about everything we came across, but yeah. Anyway, I'm Mark Hawk, and I'll see you all out there. Have a good one, everyone.